Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Liz Aragao, and I'm here on behalf of the drawing room with a few of my friends. I have Anthony Frangiotis. Hi, Anthony. And our special guest, Butch McCarthy. Thanks for joining us, Butch.
Thanks for asking me.
Oh my gosh, of course. So for those of you who don't know, the Drawing Room is an art and design shop located in historic downtown New Bedford. And Anthony is the owner, and she's also a local architect. And tonight's event is part of AHA Night. So AHA New Bedford has virtual AHA Night festivities, and this conversation is part of that. So thank you to everyone at AHA New Bedford and all of you who are joining us. So to our viewers out there, if you have any questions throughout the broadcast, all you have to do is put your questions in the Facebook comments or in the YouTube chat function, and we'll try to get to them throughout the conversation. So Anthony, do you want to welcome everyone, say hello, let us know what we have going on in the drawing room, and then we'll dive in?
Hi, everyone. It's been an interesting time in downtown New Bedford. Things are reopening in and around the neighborhood, and happy to have some activity on the online shop and be able to connect with everyone, albeit virtually. And I'm really excited to not only see Butch's work tonight, but hear some of his music.
We're very excited. Well, thanks, Anthony. So normally Anthony is the one who is the mastermind behind all these, but she's decided to put me in the hot seat, so we're swapping roles. So I'm going to be the one asking the questions, and Anthony is going to be controlling all the magic behind the scenes. So wish us all luck.
I'll do my best.
Good luck.
And I'll do my best too. All right. So Anthony, I'm just gonna have you leave the stream, and then Butch and I are gonna have a little conversation. Hello. So Butch, where are you joining us from tonight?
I'm in my apartment, which is also my studio on 7th Street, downtown New Bedford. Excellent. I consider it downtown, but a lot of people would not. But it's in the historic district anyway.
Well, we'll let you call it downtown.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with you about it. So Butch, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started as an artist, and really what came first for you? Was it painting or music?
Well, music came first, but when I was young and I lived with my parents, my father was a hobbyist, painter. He painted as a hobby. So there were always art supplies in the house. So I had access to that, and he taught me a few things like how to mix colors, and gave me a color wheel, and I could sketch, and he gave me some lessons in that and some direction. And so I've always been involved with art, and I didn't get really serious until I was in my 40s. So I was in the music business, and I sort of retired from that for about 15 years while my kids were growing up, and while I was not playing music, I needed some outlet for my art. So I decided to pick up the paintbrush and kind of taught myself how to paint. And of course, it took me almost 30 years to figure it out, but I'm getting to that point where I'm comfortable with it now.
Well, and I think you found yourself at a good point with it, because your work is quite popular and people respond very, very well to it. And so when you retired, is that really when you were able to really focus on your painting?
Yeah, of course, I retired in my early 60s, and at that point, my music career was still going. I'm still playing to this day, but it kind of quieted down a little bit. So I had a lot of time. So it's good to have a studio right here in my apartment, so I can just get up in the morning and just jump on the easel. And I don't literally jump on the easel, but
I don't think the easel would appreciate that.
Stand by the easel and work, and it keeps me busy. To me, it's a meditation. Once the paint is on the brush and I'm digging into the canvas, I kind of lose track of time and get out of my head.
And so you're painting every day?
Oh yeah, yeah, every day. At least a couple of hours every day. Sometimes a lot longer, but if I don't get in there, I feel like I've missed out on something.
And now has that because you've been able to devote that time to your work, has it changed the what you've been able to produce and the quality of your work or the subjects of your work?
Well, at this point, I can usually start and finish a painting within 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I work with acrylics. So there's always a certain amount of time to wait for the paint to dry and move on. So sometimes I have 2 or 3 going at once. So it's hard to keep track, but I've been, as my friend Chris Richards used to say, just knocking them out.
It's knocking them out. Now, you mentioned that, you find painting to be a meditative process, and often find, like, in some ways music can be meditative as well. So when do you find yourself, reaching for the paintbrush versus, the guitar?
At this point, I reach for the paintbrush way more than the guitar. I've been playing music for 50 years or more, so I got my chops in, and I still practice a little bit, but the gigs are far between, especially these days because of the virus. But I just didn't work that much. Maybe 1 gig a week, 2 gigs a week. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like I'm living off my music, but the painting has certainly moved up, and the music has gone down.
The painting's moved up the priority ladder a bit.
Yeah, I would say. And there's a lot of people that I've sold paintings to who don't even know I'm a musician. I take pride in that.
Well, I think it's a testament to the work that you've been able to produce, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I know that you and I chatted about briefly before was that you felt a lot of support in the community in New Bedford from the artist community as you were focusing on your painting. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's been
Sure.
going on with that?
Yeah. Well, when I started painting and putting my stuff on social media, and for a while I was at Hatch Street Studios. I had a studio there for about 2 years, and that community plus the online community was very supportive, and I got a lot of good ideas and encouragement from people like Tracy Barboza, Peggy Connolly, Phyllis Adams, Mike Petrogala, Kenny Richards, Daniel Cooney, the Hawks at Gallery X. A lot of people really encouraged me, and I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, that's really nice, because I think a lot of times, most times, right, art is a solitary pursuit.
Yeah.
So having that community it can change how you approach things.
Absolutely, yeah. It is solitary, yeah. So the pandemic quarantine has hardly affected me.
I was gonna ask, has it changed your pattern?
Not really that much, except for the fact that getting art supplies was sort of difficult because all the stores were closed, and I had to rely on ordering online, and that's hit or miss. You could order. I'm out of titanium white paint. I'll order some from Jerry's Art Rammer or something, and it comes a week and a half later. So meanwhile, you're just changing what you're painting, depending on what you have on hand. So.
Well, yeah, I would think having to wait a week and a half for the right color paint would take a little bit of the immediacy out of what you're trying to create. So what I'm going to do is actually share some of your work
Okay.
with you and with our audience. And we already had one question come in. Someone was asking where they could purchase your work. So we do have some of Butch's work on the Drawing Room website. The link's at the bottom of your screen right there. Butch also has his own website, and he's also a prolific poster on social media. So if you follow him on Facebook or Instagram, you'll also be able to see what he's working on.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Almost to a fault.
Not to a fault. It's helpful.
Yeah.
It's always nice when you make your art visible, because then people can see it and find it and purchase it.
All right.
So, looking at this, tell me a little bit about the television that we see here before us.
All right. This painting is called Three Channels, and it's actually right now hanging at the Frying Pan Gallery in Wellfleet, Massachusetts. And shout out to the people at Frying Pan Gallery. They have several of my paintings hanging. This one's a big one. I think it's 36 by 48. And there was a period, maybe a year and a half ago, where I painted 5 or 6 old TVs from old photographs I had. And I don't know, there's something charming about it to me.
Well, yeah, when I saw this one, I kind of, I sometimes use, well, I don't know if you do this. When I see something I like, I get a little, like, the little kid in me starts getting a little excited. So I saw this and I like clap my hands, because it reminded me of an old television set that my grandmother used to have in her house. And it was eventually turned into a bar, like the screen was removed, but I saw that, and that's what it made me think of. And I loved it. So.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And I think is this behind you? And you have an artist picture, and I think one of the televisions is behind you in that photo as well.
Right. That picture was taken at Frying Pan Gallery in Orleans. They have 2.
Oh, there you go.
Wellfleet, and they just moved this one to Wellfleet. So
excellent.
Hopefully someone will grab it off the wall.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I hope they pay for it before they grab it. So what are we looking at here? One of your flower series?
Yeah, this one I just finished maybe 4 days ago. It's called Irises 2, because this is the second one I did. The first one sold. This one's still hanging on my wall right over there.
I was gonna say, I think we saw that during our practice run.
Right. And I'm not sure. I think it's 24 by 36. Yeah, 24 by 36. And this is actually inspired by my front yard. There are purple and white irises in this neighborhood. Everyone has it in their front yard. So I took a few photographs, and then I just didn't follow the photograph. That's how I work a lot. I'll take a photo, get a general idea, and then
oh, there we go. Yeah. Thanks, Anthony. I think Anthony was trying to multitask for a second.
And then I put the photograph away and just let it rip. This was a lot of fun to paint, because it is a lot of arm movement involved. It was very athletic to do this. It was a good workout.
Yeah, and I wouldn't look at this and think it was a good workout, but now that you've said it, I can get that. But I also just see how happy it is, and I was, it made me think about how. So a couple weeks back, and this because we talked about it. We did one of these conversations, and it was about choosing art for the home, and we teased you because we told you after that it became a Butch McCarthy love fest, because we were all talking about how much we love your work, and it makes people happy. And what I thought was actually really lovely is that Tracy Barboza, whose work I believe is actually behind you right now, she said, yep, right there. Shout out to Tracy. Tracy said to us, what she loves about your work is that your soul comes through it. And I thought that was a lovely compliment from another artist. So I just wanted to share that with you. And so I want folks to kind of think about that as they see Butch's work.
Thank
So
you.
would you like to tell us about this one?
This is my latest one. Well, actually, I worked on one this morning, but it's not finished. But this is the penultimate one. This is called Poppies. 10 poppies. Yeah, it's called 10 poppies because there are actually 10 in there. And I like poppies, and I like I like this. I don't think there was no photograph involved with this. I know what a poppy looks like, so I just painted a bunch of poppies, and I like the way the red and the green sort of complement each other. And I got on this kick with the dark blue backgrounds. I don't know why, but it works. So I'm very happy with this one. I've already had some inquiries on this.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And something, you know, that we've kind of been talking about a bit is how you choose your subjects. You basically paint what you like.
Right. It's like my music. I play what I like, and hopefully you like it too.
Well, you know, you've definitely had success because your paintings have been purchased by people globally, correct?
True. Yeah.
So where's the farthest flung Butch McCarthy painting?
I think it's Finland. Finland might be the furthest.
Do you remember what appealed to the folks in Finland?
Well, I think the person who bought it was from New England,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a painting of the docks at Provincetown. It was something that brought back memories to her, I guess, and that was a lot of fun shipping it, and got lost in customs, and
Oh no.
it took maybe 4 months to get it from me to her. And as a matter of fact, it turned out she came back to visit America, and I met up with her and gave her the painting, and she brought it back in a suitcase
Oh my gosh.
because the shipping came back to me. But anyway,
What an adventure. So like the painting attempted to get to Finland, turned around, came back, and then she basically smuggled it back.
yeah.
I think that's great. So Anthony, do we want to move on to the next? Lovely.
More poppies.
More poppies. So
Yeah,
you know what poppies look like.
I do. And
Oh, Anthony, can we go back to our friendly poppies? Thank you.
this is one that Auntie has. This
Yeah.
is one at the drawing room. It's I think it's 18 by 18. It's a nice size painting, and it's pretty two-dimensional. You know, it's
Yeah. In the Butch McCarthy Love Fest conversation, that's what Anthony said she loved about this one. That it was two-dimensional, and I told Anthony that this is actually my favorite of your paintings, and it might be because it's the first one I've seen, the first one I saw, and it made me happy, so I have a special affection for it. And I don't know, there's something about it that just, you know what my you know, threshold is. It doesn't make me happy, then I love it. So it makes me happy, so I love it.
I like the fact that there's no stems.
Mm-hmm, I do too.
They're just floating poppies.
Now, was that intentional, or, you know, were you?
I actually do that a lot. I do. There was a period I was doing birds, and I didn't put the feet. They were like on a branch, and they were floating. I've done it with pears floating above the table. I don't know. There's something, I don't know, ethereal about the fact that they're just floating there. I like that. I'll keep looking at it.
I'm glad you like your own work. I think that's great.
This is actually hanging in my bedroom right now.
Oh, is it?
How much I like it. I took it out of the studio and put it on my wall.
Well,
But
I told
I'll
Anthony
put
and
them
I
up.
were, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, if I think they're almost finished, I put them on the wall and live with them for a few days, and that's when I notice whether they need help or not.
Well, I think you must love this one too, because you're
Yeah.
sticking with it. So Anthony and I were chatting before, and I told her, I was like, when we get to the poppies, I'm going to put a shout out there and say, if anyone has ever wanted to ever buy me a present, This is it. And so after that plug, to anyone who wants to buy me this present, and I hope they do. And you know, you'll just have to paint another painting and replace the one that's currently the space currently occupied by this one.
Oh, they're always moving around. When people say to me, "I'd like to buy a painting, but my walls are full of work," and I go, "You know, you can actually change them.
You can change them. You can change them.
Rotate them.
Put a few in storage. We talked about that during our conversation a few weeks back, our live stream about choosing art for the home. You can put some away and rotate new ones in.
This is true.
Especially if I live in a very small space, so that's very critical. Otherwise, nothing new will ever come in because all the walls are full. All right. Do you want to look at, and here's another flower.
Geraniums. This time I put the stems in. I guess there's a few pansies involved there too. It's a nice paint. I like the colors. This one, I actually did a long series of geraniums about a year ago. And you know, if I'm walking down the street and I see geraniums, it clicks. There's something about that red that I love. And usually if I see a geranium somewhere, I'll go home and paint one. I don't know. It's just something
It speaks to you.
Yeah, I guess so. This one's pretty nice. I like it. I haven't looked for a while. I
think this one's also available at the drawing room.
This is a drawing room piece. Yeah, I think the next ones will be. Yeah. That one was smaller. I think it's 12 by 16, maybe 11 by 14. That's a small painting. It'll fit anywhere.
And I think next we have a series from your telephone poles. One from your telephone pole series.
I think this is called Cedar Street, maybe? Or I can't remember.
I think it's Cedar Street.
Cedar Street. This was like 6 months ago. I did 8 telephone pole paintings. I see sort of the crucifix, the Christian thing going on, and also the fact that these are so prevalent and ubiquitous all over. They're everywhere, but no one really pays attention to them because they're just doing their job. You know, they're up there and they've got their arms out and they're holding up our wires. And each one, if you look at telephone poles, each one is different. There's different attachments. The wires attach different ways. And I put these on Facebook, and a guy who worked for the telephone company and the power company bought one, and he said, he said to me, "You nailed it. This is what I looked at every day for 45 years." And now he's retired.
I'd say you found your audience for that painting.
I still have a few left.
Well, you know, I smiled when I saw this series as well, because I used to work in the electric power industry of all things. So I did marketing for a company in the electric power industry for 9 years. So I was thinking of the linemen and the folks who do the different testing of transformers and generators when I saw this, and I was like, oh, I know a few people who, like, this is speaking their love language.
And the funny thing is, I have no idea what all those little things do. So
you don't need to know, as long as you capture the essence of it.
I want to know what that big white tube does.
I'm pretty sure that's a transformer.
The transformer, okay. And another one.
There's another one.
As you see, different wires. This one has 2 on one side and 1 on the other. It's got a transformer. It's got a street light attached. There's a tree peeking in the bottom left corner. This was one of the last ones I did. As I get into it, I got a little more intricate and detailed about it. And that's the way it usually goes. But
I was gonna say, do you find that when you're painting a series that, you know, it starts, you know, focused on the essence of it, and then you get to be a little more creative by the end?
yeah, exactly. I like it. You know, I have 3 of these hanging on my living room wall. I just like looking at them. I called it the Stations of the Cross. It's a Catholic reference.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Thanks.
What do we have next in our magic list, Anthe? Here we go.
This one's called After Labor Day, I think.
Yes.
After Labor Day. It's the sad beach after the summer. The summer's over. All that's left is the lifeguard station, which will soon be put in storage probably. But I saw this. I think I took a photograph of East Beach, and I did maybe 5 or 6 of these. And the ones I did that were from East Beach in New Bedford had the numbers of the on the back of the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I was doing the telephone pose and I was into crucifixes, so I just put the red cross on the back just for the heck of it. It's a nice contrasting color to the rest of the piece, and it kind of pops out at you, the red cross.
No, it really does. And you were saying that this is, you know, kind of like the end of summer sort of, you know, empty beach sort of feeling. But when I see this, I think this is my ideal beach because no one's there.
Yeah, it's either the summer's over or we got here early.
Yeah. the early risers.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. This is I forgot what I taught.
I think this one's quarantine sale. I think.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just one sailboat out on the ocean. I picture one guy or a woman sitting there sailing a small sailboat, like a cat or something, enjoying the day in solitude. This one took me about 2 weeks. Believe it or not.
So what about it was more time consuming?
I couldn't find the right colors, and I still don't know if I have, but they look right now. But I had purple ocean and a white sky, and I kept changing it. The only thing that stayed the same was the sailboat.
Yeah. Was that the white paint that you had to send away for?
No, this one I did a while before the quarantine.
Oh, okay.
I didn't title it till after the quarantine.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
It found its name in the present situation.
Yeah. Is that it? I think. No,
I think we have one more. Yep.
This is me trying to be primitive.
Okay.
It's Truro. Is it Truro Shacks?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Truro Shacks. I saw a photograph of some shacks in Truro, obviously, and
It's funny how that works.
and I had just seen a moonrise, so I took that I took the buildings, and it was a daytime photograph, and I changed it to a nighttime photograph. So the nighttime painting. So this one's I like this one. I say that a lot, don't I? I like my paintings. Yeah,
well, I mean, I've been saying it too, so it's okay. Since the conversation is, Butch, I love this painting, and you go, I like this painting.
Well, you know, I see them on the wall, but when you see them on a screen and you're part of a show, and you have to describe it. It's hard to actually describe the painting, because once I'm finished with it, I kind of put it away and forget about it.
Yeah.
This one, I was working at just being quick and doing a lot of overpainting.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of overpainting on it, and it kind of reminds me of a Phyllis Adams painting. Of course, I don't know if she'd think that, but it's sort of inspired by her style.
I think you'd take that as a compliment.
Oh, maybe.
Hope so. Hi, Phyllis. And I think that might be the last painting we have to look at. But one thing that, we were talking about a bit is, how you're selecting what you're painting and how you basically paint what you like. But basically you're an observer, right? You walk around, you see things, and they speak to you in different ways. So what are you seeing now? Besides me on the screen.
It hasn't really hit me lately, so I've been relying on reliable images.
Mm-hmm.
Finished some fishing boats. There's something about when fishing boats are all lined up, and then that appeals to me. So I just did one of those, but I always have my eyes open. I drive around a lot, especially during this quarantine. Just to get out of the house, I either ride a bike or I drive my car to nowhere, and I have my eyes open, and I bring my phone and my camera with me, and if I see something that appeals to me, I'll take a few photographs and use that as a base for a painting.
Now, is there anything that you've tried to paint, but it's just like so elusive it refuses to be painted?
Well, I have a huge pile in my studio of maybe 40 paintings that are dogs.
Like actual dogs are just like bad.
What?
Like actual dogs are just like bad paintings.
They're just bad. No, really, they're terrible. Sometimes I just don't have it in me, and luckily I know it, and I can recognize it, and I go, "This is terrible," and I don't give up on it, but I'll put it aside, quotes, and go to the wrong direction, quotes, and I'll work on this at another time, but usually I don't. I end up painting over it. I'll just erase it and cover it up and start over. But I'd say 50% of my paintings are failures.
50%? It's not a bad ratio though, right?
Yeah, it's it's 50-50. I don't know what's going to happen.
So we had one question from the audience. Do you use acrylics or oil?
Acrylics, yeah. I did use oils for a while when I first started, when I was in my 40s, but I didn't like the smell and the cleanup. It's real messy. In acrylics, you just use water and soap. Everything's happy.
No, I love that. So you're so I think I saw that you had done that lineup of boats. That was your most recent completion, right? Or almost complete.
Oh, I think it's finished, yeah, but I'm not sure.
Do you post them online before you think they're done? Yeah.
I do. A lot of times a buyer will let me know it's finished.
That's one way of knowing.
It's happened many times. I'll post it when it's just about done and say work in progress. And some, I don't know how many times, but many times, dozens of times, people have said, "I'll take it as is. Don't touch it."
I believe our mutual friend Jody told us the story about that, how you would sketch something and she basically said, like, "Yes, this is mine." And you said, I'll finish it. And she said, "No, it's done."
That was a sketch of a theater.
The Zeiterion?
Might have been the Zeiterion.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, it was just like a watercolor sketch with markers that I had done before I did the painting. A lot of times I'll sketch out. Well, not almost all the time. I'll sketch out what I want to paint, and I don't know why I thought the sketch looked good, so I posted that.
Yeah.
She took it. On the wall right now.
Now, as far as, in the time that you're painting, I know you'd mentioned that you're listening to you've been listening to a lot of music and podcasts and things. So what's on your playlist?
Frank Sinatra, Elvis Costello, because we're going wide there. Ends of the spectrum. I tried doing classical music because a lot of people, I love classical music, but I found it distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So because I would get into it. But Beatles, I listen to the Beatles a lot, and Tom Petty. And I also listen to podcasts and audiobooks. But audiobooks are tough because if I get into the painting, I'll lose track of the story. And of course, I'll have to rewind it and figure out. But music can just go in one ear out the other.
So do you ever accidentally start painting what the audiobook is, like take the path the audiobook is taking you down?
I wouldn't count that out.
All right, well, you let us know if that happens.
No.
So one thing that we had touched upon is the current situation has certainly been trying from the perspective of the quarantines and the more recent protests. And so how has it really impacted how you're approaching your work? Like you said, you're relying more on photos now. Oops, there goes the iPad.
I think I got it. Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Nope. There
Nope.
it goes again. Sorry. Am I back?
We're with you.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I guess you didn't like the question. It's okay.
I'm afraid it's going to fall again. Nope, I got it. Nope, there it
Nope.
goes. Well, I'll just hold it up.
Okay, that sounds good.
There's something wrong on my little stand here. But anyway, what was the question?
So basically, we've all been dealing with a lot going on, personally, collectively, as community, and kind of in the world with the pandemic and, more recently, the protests. And so, just as a human and as an artist, how has that impacted you and what you want to be working on or not want to be working on?
Well, it's affected me in this way. I've been working a lot more, basically to keep my mind off it because the anxiety level is very high.
Yeah.
I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and the isolation part of it is pretty tough. My girlfriend lives in San Diego, and that's where she is. So
yeah.
We've been apart for 90 days or more, and it's been tough. But I have, I've seen my kids from a distance, and when I get into the studio, I can put all that behind me, and at least for a few hours, forget about this crazy world we're living in, and try to create something beautiful, if I can.
Well, and I think you do.
Thanks.
So we appreciate that. And one thing that we've also been talking about is that even though art has become the larger focus of your time, you're still an active musician, and you guys have pivoted to live stream events. So much like the drawing room is doing live stream conversations,
Exactly.
you're doing live stream performances. And so how are those going to kind of fill the gap?
We're doing all right. We've done two. I think we did two on Sunday afternoons, and I think we combined probably like 4,000 views, which I'll take.
Yeah.
And tomorrow night we're doing it again at 6 p.m. on
Excellent.
Facebook.
And can you tell everyone the name of your band, because I love the name?
Oh, it's Butch McCarthy and the Gentlemen of Leisure.
I love it.
Known as the Gents. Because Gentlemen of Leisure is a mouthful, so sometimes we shorten it to the Gents. And there's John Borges on drums, Steve Mazza on bass, and Bob Calderara on mandolin,
Oh, great.
and me on guitar.
And what do you guys like to play?
But we do some originals, probably 5 or 6 during a set, and the rest of covers we do some Dylan and some Beatles and some Van Morrison, and we mix it up.
Well, I think you also promised to give us a little taste of an acoustic performance.
Yeah.
Will you be able to do that with the iPad in its current state of flux?
Let's see.
All right. Well, without further ado, we're gonna let. Do you need time to set up? Are you good?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we're gonna let Butch play a couple songs for us.
It looks like I'm left-handed because I got backwards. This is one I wrote called Huckleberry. Open up your heart, darling, wider than the sea. Open up them baby blues and you see plenty of me. You see plenty of me. I'll be a huckleberry. You can be my honeybee. You're as sweet as a shoe fly by. Baby, bring that sugar to me. Bring that sugar to me. Well, my heart is as dark as a moonless night, but you fill me full of joy. I can be one mean old son of a gun, but I'd rather be your lover boy. God knows that I would rather be your lover boy than I'll be your huckleberry child. You can be my honeybee. You're as sweet as a shoe fly, baby, bring that sugar. I say, bring that sugar to me. We're getting thunder. Might interrupt the song. I'll be your huckleberry child. You can be my little honey bunny bee. You're sweet as a shoe fly pie, baby. Bring that sugar to me on down. Bring that sugar to me. Well, the man was made to work and slave just to keep himself occupied. But I'd rather spend all of my days just lying by your side. Oh, baby, just lying by your side. I'll be a huckleberry. You can be what you want to be. You're so sweet, I'm gonna give you up the land. Baby, bring that sugar to me. I'll be your huckleberry child. You can be my honeybee. You're sweet as a shoe fly pie, baby, bring that sugar. Come on now, bring that sugar now. Bring that sugar to me. Okay, that was Huckleberry. You want another?
Yes, we'd love another.
Okay. It's an old Beatles tune. Because they're all old. I once had a girl should I say, she once had me. She showed me a room, is in a good Norwegian wood. She asked me to stay and she told me to sit and wait. I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair. I sat on the rug, biding my time, drinking her wine. We talked until 2, and then she said it's time for bed. She told me she worked in the morning, started the light. I told her I didn't, then crawled off to sleep in the bath. When I woke, I was alone, this bird had flown. So I lit a fire, is it a good Norwegian wood? She told me she worked in the morning, started the light. I told her I didn't, and crawled off and sleep in the bath. When I woke, I was alone, this bird had flown. So I lit a fire, is in a good Norwegian wood. Here you go, Norwegian wood.
Thank you so much. I'm going to add Anthe back too, so you can see that we were applauding.
Thank you.
Anthe, I think you're still muted. If you want to come in for the wrap up, we can. But Butch, I wanted to just thank you so much for indulging us and playing for us, but also spending this time with us to talk about your work and your art, and being so gracious as we forced you to look at your paintings and reflect on what you were thinking and why. And I know it's not always the easiest thing, but we appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you asking me. I'm flattered, really. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Anthe, did you have any additional questions for Butch, or did we have any?
I do have a question for Butch. So you had talked earlier about digging into your canvas and having that be very meditative to you. And I'm curious to know whether you find the music as meditative differently, or is it different? Is it the same, or is one more? Do you find like you get more out of one or the other? Because they're both creative outlets.
Right. So I think the difference would be that playing music, I played both of those songs probably 1,000 times. So it can be repetitive, and the way I escape the boredom of that, it's not really boredom, but the mundanity, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Of that to
mundaneness, yeah.
I have a little movie in my mind, and that brings me through the lyrics. So that's what I see while I'm singing a song. Whereas when I'm painting, it's brand new every time. Mm-hmm. So that it's more of a meditation when I'm painting, because I'm forcing myself to meditate when I'm singing, or it just comes naturally when I'm painting.
And yeah, most of the time each painting is, even if you're trying to replicate a painting, it still comes out differently.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I've tried to, like, when I first started, I would try to copy other people's paintings,
yeah,
and they were,
master copies or
I could get close, but it wasn't like a cover song.
Oh, because it had your individual mark on it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I had quite a few assignments like that. Here, copy this, or go to a museum. That's actually another good resource when our museum's open again. Go to a museum and try to copy a painting. So no, I don't have any other questions. This has been fun, and good for me to be doing all the technical things.
You did a great job.
I really enjoyed the. I have to say, I really enjoyed the iPad drop. That was awesome. I'm glad it had.
I'm glad we were able to resolve it. So after a few drops, we didn't lose you. That would have been a little unfortunate.
It was great. It was great. Actually, one of the things that I've enjoyed about the virtual events is just accepting the challenges of the technology and working through them. So it was pretty well.
Yeah, so. No matter how much we plan for any event, something will always go wrong because it's technology is involved and humans are involved. So
yeah, this has been great. Oh, sorry.
No, to say this has been so wonderful. So Anthony, thank you for putting this together and for being you and hosting these events. Thank you to our friends at AHA New Bedford for continuing with the AHA Night series and the virtual AHA Night series that we've been able to enjoy. And Butch, obviously, thank you for joining us and being so gracious. And everyone, if you're looking for one of Butch's paintings, you can find them on the Drawing Room website. You can find them on Butch's website. You can also find it on Butch's social media feeds. And I also believe that Butch is going to be gracious enough to play us out like we're an actual fancy television show.
You didn't ask me that.
I did so.
And you'll be back for the Sunset series at Westport River this summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, August 15th. It was originally June 17th, but the town of Westport decided to wait until July to start doing that. So I'll be switching my date to August 15th, which it's always a great time.
Yes, the winery is a great place to visit.
So am I taking us out?
You're taking us out. We're going to disappear and leave it to you, and we'll fade away. Thank you, everyone. We'll leave you with the sounds of Butch McCarthy.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Throw my ticket out the window. Honey, throw my suitcase out there too. Throw my troubles out the door. I don't need them anymore. For tonight, I'll be staying here with you. Should have left this town this morning, but it was more than I could do. Oh, your love comes on so strong, and I waited all day long for tonight, and I'm staying here with you. Is it any wonder to love a stranger might deceive? He cast you a spell and I went under. Find it so difficult to leave, and I can hear that whistle blowing. I can see that station master too. There's a popo on the street. You can let him have my seat. For tonight I will be staying here with you. For tonight I will be staying here with you. Yes, tonight I will be staying here with you. Happy Aha Night.